I think I've put on the smallest bit of... I feel heavier. I actually feel heavier. Maybe like...
Because you didn't shit for a week after you ate all that barbecue.
Welcome.
Go ahead.
Should we just do it in stereo and talk together?
Welcome
to Bumble.
Welcome to the Bumble Bears podcast. We're your hosts, Willie and Saz.
Hello.
We are backyard beekeepers here in Melbourne.
Yes, not Melbourne, Florida. Melbourne, Australia.
Yes, with a keen interest in all things bee related. And today we wanted to do our part 2 on Everything Wrong with the Bee Movie. And this is part 2.
Yes, a bit of a backstory. We had a technological fail and we spent a considerable amount of time, recording part 2, only to find out that the recording was messed up.
It was like in slow motion, and it was completely my fault because I did not do a sound check last night. We spent 40 minutes and recorded the full episode, and then we listened back and it was like...
And we kind of cried a little bit on the inside because we knew that we would have to spend 40 minutes talking about the Bee Movie again.
I feel like this is our karma, for bashing on this movie so bad. It's like you really want to bash on it.
Yeah, kind of like, how it took us many attempts to get through the actual Bee Movie. Now this is our third attempt in trying to get through the Bee Movie review.
I did sound check today, okay? I did. So we're solid. This is happening for real. So when we last left off, it was the scene about the apiary with the squeegees and the weird honey or the hive design.
Yeah. All budding beekeepers, amateur, semi-professional, or completely professional beekeepers out there. If you haven't seen the Bee Movie, it's roughly halfway in the film. You have got to see the way that they portray a actual bee yard and how they extract honey. Words just do not do it justice.
That blew my mind. We were like, if only it was that easy that you could just squeegee the honey straight off the frame like that.
Yeah.
And then casually carry these huge buckets of honey, which would be heavy as shit.
Yeah, and also...
After Jerry sees the way the bees are being mistreated at the apiary...
New low in the film!
He decides to sue the human race for stealing their honey.
And no, he's not suing the, beekeeping industry. He's suing the entire human race.
Right, so it's like all over the news, and it's all over the news in the bee world, and then Jerry goes on a famous talk show called Bee Larry King. Which
was one of the many flat jokes in this film.
And, of course, it's voiced by Larry King, and it's, the familiar scene that we all know of Larry King stooped over his desk with the little light-up board behind him. And he gives an interview.
But they couldn't give him a better punny...
I know, that's what...
bee name?
I said Larry Sting. It should have been Larry Sting.
Yeah, that would have been comical.
And then, but no, Jerry Seinfeld is not that clever, because then in that interview he's like, what about all the other great bees of the world? Like Bee Gandhi and Bejesus.
Oh, God. That was an awful part of the film. Renee Zellweger is going to be serving as, I guess, not even her... She's not a lawyer. She's a florist. I guess.
No, she just helps him put the case together.
Yeah, because he's representing himself in court, right?
Yeah, and then in the human news, they're all making this big deal. They're like, today we're going to find out, can bees really talk? And then in the court scene, when Jerry first talks, everyone's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And we're like, the shitstorm that would ensue. I know it's a cartoon. I know animals talk in cartoons all the time, but it's the fact that they made this big deal about, could this bee really talk to humans? And then how accepting and just like casual everyone was about it.
Yeah, because if we were to reference a superior animated film with, things which shouldn't talk but do talk, and a very appropriate reaction to it, Toy Story. At the
Oh yeah,
end
true.
when Woody actually breaks like the rule and he talks to Sid and he goes, "Now play nice," to scare
And
Sid. Yeah, that was done exceptionally well.
so they're in court, and you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I have some vague understanding that you need to have supporting evidence for your case. You have to, have some kind of logical and legal grounds as to support your case. And Jerry the Bee brings in Sting as a witness, and he's like, "So, is Sting even your real name? Like, what makes you think you can appropriate the word Sting?" And like, I was like, what does this have to do with people stealing honey?
Yeah, well, I think it's Jerry Seinfeld not being that creative of a writer, and he needed filler, and that court case was a significant portion of the film. That was like a quarter or a third of the film.
Yeah.
And yeah, as you said, there were like these um, all these fluff elements in that court case, which there's a term for that, right? Like that's
Contempt of
yeah,
court.
yeah, it's contempt of court. Yeah, when you're like just
wasting everyone's time.
Yeah, when you're wasting everyone's time, because there's a part where Matthew Broderick B is teaching them how to fold like a sailboat out of a newspaper. Then there's Sting, and there's this other irrelevant part where he goes, "Hey, Mr. CEO of Evil Honey Corporation, why does honey always come in bear squeezy bottles?" And he's like, "Oh, because bears are cute." And he goes, "Are you not sensitive to the feelings of bees? Bees are terrified of bears. Look."
And then yeah, they bring in like a bear on a chain that's like wild and crazy, of course. And I'm like, but why? Like,
I don't bring a bear when I beekeep.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
nobody does. Like, what's the? I don't understand.
But there is actually one specific, you know, apiculture fact that, was a bit of a gripe with during this court scene, and that is during the preparation of the case, Jerry was drinking coffee of all things because, Jerry Seinfeld drinks coffee, so B. Jerry Seinfeld must also drink coffee. And Renee Zellweger offers Jerry sugar.
And then he goes, "No thanks, I don't like to support the competition," which
Is baffling.
is dumb in the first place that he would even say it. But the thing is, you can feed bees white sugar, and it can, in fact, help support and save your hive in times of need.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident that, you know, tens of thousands of hives all across the world, because, we live in trying times with climate change, unregulated use of pesticides, numerous other factors which maybe deforestation, other factors which have led to, colony collapse in various parts of the world. And many colonies have been saved with supplementing the hive with white sugar. So the fact that B. Jerry was anti-white sugar is a big pox on their bee research.
Yeah, and then speaking of the scenes with him and Renee Zellweger, there was the dinner that came up after that, which was one of your favorite parts. So he's, Jerry Seinfeld is having dinner with Renee Zellweger, and then her boyfriend Putty comes home, and then Putty's like in a bad mood. He's like, "You're sitting in my spot," and like, "Why are you hanging out with my girlfriend?" Blah blah blah, which, I mean, talking bee aside, fair enough. Like, why is Jerry Seinfeld hanging out with your girlfriend? It's kind of weird.
Well, apparently it's, a case of Melissophilia,
Yeah, I guess
which,
so.
as we alluded to, you'll be covering in more detail in a future episode.
Oh my god. You know what's funny? That weird dream sequence that we didn't even get into, but she kind of like gives him a sexy look and she's like, "You coming?" Remember?
Oh, God.
It's like, don't go there. Don't go there, Jerry.
Yeah.
But anyways, they're, having dinner. Putty's in a bad mood. And then Jerry goes to the bathroom and Putty follows him in there. And then he like starts threatening that he's going to swat him with the newspaper. And they have this fight. And then Putty sprays him with the deodorant can. And
like lays it on thick.
yeah, like right in the face.
Spraying.
And then Jerry's like, "Oh, too bad. I like flowers." And I'm like, "There's no fucking flowers in that can. That is straight chemicals." And like,
he's dead.
He'll be dead.
He's dead.
Yeah.
And God, this film's hit a new low again. But no, it just keeps descending because the next thing that happens is, Putty then has a lighter. Then he's trying to spray the aerosol, at Jerry, with like this, makeshift flamethrower. Then he somehow knocks Jerry in, he knocks over a whole bunch of things, and Jerry Seinfeld, among some other, bathroom supplies, end up in the toilet. Now, Jerry Seinfeld is in the toilet water, and bees die in water pretty easily. Like,
yeah.
That's why they fly in the rain, which we mentioned in part 1. And it's like, oh boy, okay, so he should be dead from this, if not from the deodorant. Then Putty is trying to, inflict the finishing blow by flushing the toilet. But lo and behold, Jerry Seinfeld gets on this nail file, which also fell into the toilet. And, as the toilet water is spiraling down the drain, which a metaphor for the film, Jerry...
He like starts surfing on it, and it's just...
And he's doing flips and tricks and shit.
Oh, man. I just can't. It was so bad.
Yeah, and then, he's doing like 960s, and he's like, spraying, getting some toilet water on Putty's face. And he's just, he might as well be saying cowabunga.
Yeah, it was bad.
Then,
I think we stopped it at that part too.
Yeah, and then Renee Zellweger breaks up with Putty at that point, and then Putty makes this comment about how,
"I don't even like honey. I like artificial sweeteners. I know it has a weird aftertaste. I like it."
Yeah, and then we were like, we are done. We are done tonight. We are not getting through the rest of the movie tonight.
Seriously, it was a miracle we made it through this movie, because it just, every time it got to one of these unbearable scenes, we're just like, nope, stop.
Next scene, final day in court.
Right. So there was John Goodman, who represents the
evil bee companies because they're so evil.
He also alludes to the weird sexual relationship that Jerry and Renee Zellweger are having, because he's like, "Why are you hanging out with this human lady? Are you a bedbug?" And I'm like, "Excuse me? This is a children's film.
Rated PG-13.
Yeah. And then this is when he gets so offended that Matthew Broderick, he just like starts to lose his mind, and he stings John Goodman in court. And John Goodman like makes this big drama about like, "Oh, I'm dying," and he's like flopping all over the place. And then, as we discussed and as we know, when a bee stings someone or something, they will die.
But this doesn't happen to be Matthew Broderick.
It happened to me on the weekend, on my face, twice.
Yeah, that was bad.
That's bad. My face looks normal today, right? Kind of. It's still a little...
You look lovely, Sarah.
Oh, you're so sweet.
But, we can't have B. Matthew Broderick die, so he's in a human hospital in Manhattan, which is, I'm like, why isn't he in the Hive hospital? Why isn't he in a human hospital? They've given him a bed. And I've never been to a hospital in the US or Manhattan, But, as, you are the
I
US
mean,
national of this podcast.
they're probably they probably have other priorities, don't they? Like Manhattan's a busy, highly populated, and somewhat dangerous place. Not only did everyone just accept that bees can talk, they're like, "Come on in, let's get you a bed in the hospital," and then they hook him up to an IV drip that has honey in it.
Yes, because bees have honey for blood.
Apparently, yeah.
Apparently, which is ridiculous.
Not only that, but since he lost his barb, they decided to give him a prosthetic, which is
This prosthetic stinger, which the plastic sword.
you know, at Excalibur in Las Vegas at the buffet when you get the little sword through the maraschino cherry in your drink. That's what they put on him, which is the size of one of those is like 6 bees long.
Yeah.
So how could that be his?
I don't even know if you
stinger?
can 3D print a sword that small.
No, probably not.
Yeah,
Because we were like how small a bee's actual stinger is. I just pulled some out of my face on the weekend, as we said. It's smaller than a baby's fingernail. It's smaller than like 12-point font, like a C.
It's like half a grain of rice
Yeah,
in length,
it's
but
tiny.
the width is
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We just have to accept the fact that the humans put B. Matthew Broderick in a human hospital bed and found an IV drip small enough to hook it into his veins.
Yes, and then I swear it was like taped to his butt too, wasn't it? Like it looked all shabby.
I don't want to watch the film again to verify that fact.
But then so they're in the hospital and they're at a ground floor room and the window's open and there's two people just like chugging away at cigarettes outside the window, which is a problem in itself because this is 2019 and
I think the film was made in 2006.
Okay, even still, that was after like all the serious smoking indoors laws and like 25 to 50 feet like away from the building laws came in. There's signs everywhere, especially in a fucking hospital. You're not gonna be smoking and just like blowing it right into the window.
Yeah.
But seeing these people, Jerry's like, "That's right, the smoker."
Yeah, so the way Jerry Seinfeld wraps up the court case, which allows him to successfully sue the human race and win, which we'll go into more detail later, is that he brings in a smoker into the courtroom and be like, humans are horrible people because they use, the smokers during their beekeeping practices, and this proves that they, have it in for us, and therefore bees deserve the compensation, i.e., all the honey in the world back in the hives.
Yeah, and then this is one of the first beekeeping lessons you ever gave me, Willie, was what the smoker does and how to properly use it to not hurt the bees.
You want a cool smoke, to come out from the smoker, and I personally prefer the use of pine needles, just straight pine needles. And I would love to hear what anyone else likes to use, in place of pine needles. Like about the pine needles is it just gives us a cool white smoke. And the first thing I do with it, because Mr. Barry Cooper from the Collingwood Children's Farm apiary, Barry, if you're listening, thank you so much for all your tutelage back in 2012. He told me that, you have to puff the smoke in your own face first. And if it burns your eyes, then it's too hot.
Yeah, and like, that's one of the first things you taught me. And that's something that we're careful about. And then we're always, when we use the smoker, it's just a few gentle puffs in front of the hive, just enough so they kind of get the smell and that triggers the signals for them. But like, in the movie, it portrayed like just fumigating the bees,
Yeah,
and they were like, "Ah!"
They made it look like you were like, fumigating a house, to get rid of, say, termites or bed bugs or something like that. But actually, we just give these gentle puffs of smoke, and it, as all beekeepers will notice, or if you're new to beekeeping, you should check this out. That it triggers a lot of the bees to start filling themselves up with honey, because they think that there might be a fire nearby. Therefore, if they need to make a quick exit,
they're all like stocked up on food, and that they can like take as much as they can, right? So
to their new home.
Yeah. So, but then it actually like puts them in a bit of a food coma, so they kind of chill a little bit.
Yeah, just like all the public holidays that we've overstuffed ourselves. I'm not really in the mood to be feisty either. So,
or like Flagstaff when we went out.
Oh boy, yeah.
What was it? St. Patrick's Day?
No, it was Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, and we were like, we're going to go out and we are going to tear up the town because we're party animals.
And then we overate at dinner and we couldn't even, we tried to go out for drinks.
We had one drink.
I was like, man, I am waddling through life right now and I just can't consume anything else. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was bad.
That was, I... not only could I not defend the metaphorical hive, I couldn't even sleep because
I kept hearing you get up and be like, ugh.
All the blood in my body was going to my stomach to break down the food because that was a lot of nachos.
We use that as a new measure in our household of how full are you? Flagstaff level? No.
This is Flagstaff, Arizona, by the way, not Flagstaff Station in the Melbourne CBD.
Yeah. But anyways, that was a side note. The other function of the smoke
is it camouflages the alarm pheromone.
Yeah. So if you were to, when you're moving the lid or as you walk up, if you happen to squish a bee, you could release the alarm pheromone, which is going to make the other bees on edge and then likely to sting you. But yeah, the smoke just kind of serves as a little bit of a calming...
Camouflage, yeah.
Yeah, camouflage, and it is not harmful to the bees, and it helps us not get harmed. It just makes them a little bit easier to handle.
It's good for both parties. Other than, if we were to ignore the fact that being stung is unpleasant, but as we said, when a bee stings you, they die. So you don't want to be in a position where you got hundreds of bees, especially when you got a full strung colony. You don't want, say, dozens or say 100 bees, sting you, because then that's 100 bees that can't help with the maintenance of the colony.
Yeah, they're losing their numbers, which they don't want either. So it all works out in the end. So basically, this piece of evidence, Judge Oprah is like, the case goes to the bees. And
yeah.
I thought it's just because she's finally something that is somewhat relevant to this case. Okay, let's just wrap this shit up. So she declares Jerry the winner, even though it was supposed to be a trial by jury.
This is montage where basically every supermarket is being raided from the honey, and then it all just gets pumped. Somehow they happen to know where every natural hive is in all of New York, and they sort of get a hose and they just pump it all back in, I guess.
Yeah, there's this montage of, okay, we gotta stop exploiting the bees, we're giving back the honey, and then there was the awkward part where...
They arrest Winnie the Pooh?
No, they shot him.
Oh, yeah, that's right, they shot him,
blood,
yes.
Which I didn't understand why. Poor Winnie the Pooh, they had him, sitting on this log drinking honey, and then this hunter snipes him with a gun, and I was like...
PG-13.
First of all, that's violent as fuck. Secondly, Winnie the Pooh is a legend.
And vastly superior to Jerry the Bee.
How could you insult Winnie the Pooh in this, fucking car crash of a film? And also, how did they get the rights to use the character?
Yeah, that's perplexing. Maybe it was like a different shade of red. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how it works, but then so all the bees are like, "Wow, Jerry, well, look what you did. You fixed everything. Like we got our honey back." But it turns out that with all the honey, the bees decide, or they're like, "We have nothing to do now."
Yeah, because our lives revolved around collecting honey. So now that we have this surplus of honey, we don't have to do anything, and we don't need to leave the hive
It
at
doesn't make
all.
any sense in the first place because Jerry's hive was like a wild hive in the park.
Yeah.
Nobody is harvesting honey from there.
Yes.
So why wouldn't they have like gotten full and decided to stop working before? Which wouldn't happen anyway because bees never stop working.
Yeah, there's
Never.
like so much housekeeping to do. There is, you know,
They're always expanding. They're always taking care of babies. Like, it's just a constant cycle. Like,
yeah,
they at no point do they go like, well, there's nothing left to do, guys.
yeah, and even then, like another big B fact, which the film got wrong, is okay, cool. They now all have a surplus of honey, but how about the pollen? Bees still have a nutritional requirement to forage for pollen. So, because there's a part in the film where the pollen jocks in, man, I cringe every time I use that term, but the pollen jocks in Jerry's home hive go, well, we have all this honey, so I guess we're out of a job now. And I'm like, no, because you still got to forage for pollen because that's required to raise all the baby bees.
And the pollen, like the pollen collection, is what cross pollinates all the flowers and stuff.
Yes.
Right. So, hypothetically, if they had all the honey in the world and just pretend for the sake of the movie that they don't want to make honey anymore. They still need to be collecting honey. They would still be cross-pollinating flowers and they would still be, you know, helping maintain the rich flora of this world.
But that's not what happened in the film because the bee research was very poor. So then we cut to another rushed montage, which was Jerry wants to ask Renee Zellweger out on a date, I think, and then at her flower shop, which has gone under.
I have to close my flower shop because there's no more flowers in the world. And you look around and it's like all the trees are brown, the trees are brown.
And the trees are brown.
Yeah, and like...
Well, actually, they're more like that black-grey, like in Halloween Town.
Yeah.
Like, kind of like dead as a... Yeah.
Yeah, like, it looks like a post-apocalyptic world, which, like, wow, that escalated quickly. And...
But bees don't make the trees, like, the leaves green, though. That's...
chlorophyll.
Yeah, that's independent from pollination.
Yeah. But, basically... because Jerry sued the human race and because they stopped harvesting honey, he fucked up the whole system and he ruined the world, apparently.
Yes. So then Jerry's like, oh, I didn't mean for it to end up this way. And Renee Zellweger's like, I have to leave now. And Jerry goes, where are you going to? And Renee Zellweger says, well, they say it's going to be the very last Tournament of the Roses in LA. So I just want to get a glimpse of it before my life is over.
Because it's like the last flowers in the world are there. And then Jerry's like, oh, the last flowers. And he comes up with this plan that he's going to go... The Tournament of Roses is, I guess it's a parade where that florists put on and they make like these big floral floats.
Yeah.
So Jerry's like, oh my god, we gotta go and like get the pollen from the flowers so that we can bring it back and pollinate the world again. So, which is batshit crazy. So they fly to LA. She breaks in behind the parade like preparation lines, hijacks a float. She like knocked the chick off, remember?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
That's pretty high up, yeah.
And then drives this thing at full pelt along the freeway in LA, which, like, if y'all have been to LA, like, I'm sorry, you're not getting, it doesn't matter if you're, like, on a motorbike. You're not getting through that fast. And especially if you're not in, like, this tank-sized float.
That float was going at 100 k's an hour down an LA highway. He made it from downtown LA to LAX in like 5 minutes.
That would never happen. It's like 2 hours. At least.
Yeah. So the plan is apparently these dead flowers which are strapped to this float, which, as many beekeepers will know, or anyone who just has an interest in flowers, pollen dries up very quickly. So we don't know when these flowers were picked. We don't know how long they've been on this float. But apparently the pollen in these flowers is viable, so that they're going to then...
She checks in the entire float into baggage.
Yeah, like,
Which is like...
How much does it cost you to get an extra 20 kilos?
Man, it's like $50. Yeah, and then she's just like, yes, this is my float. Please let me put it in the cargo hold. And they're like, okay.
Yeah, and they were like, God, okay, well, so apparently... And also, all those flowers are roses. They're just using, the pollen from roses to pollinate every subspecies of flower in the rest of the US.
It's just a travesty. Yeah, so then they're like, okay, now we're going to fly back to New York. And then on the flight
tragedy strikes. The lightning hits one of the engines.
Yeah, and then it's like the captains pass out, and then Renee Zellweger has to fly the plane. And
firstly, you're very safe when you are in a plane, even when there is a lightning storm. Like, it does cause turbulence, don't get me wrong, but just like when you're driving a car and there is lightning outside, the metal exterior serves as a protective Faraday cage, against lightning. So that lightning bolt going through the engine, that would never happen. It evenly disperses.
But then, so, I mean, if it wasn't already, like, this fucking dumpster fire of, like, what the fuck plot, all of a sudden, Renee Zellweger has to emergency land the plane. And they have this little moment in the cabin where they're, like, fighting, and Jerry Seinfeld slaps her in the face. Jerry hit a woman.
That's bad.
It's bad.
That was really bad.
Then he also makes this comment where he's like, you can do it. Like, John Travolta is a pilot. How hard could it be?
Which, okay, you know what? I'm not even going to say it's a burn, because that's not even a good joke. Flying's really, really, really difficult.
And yeah, it is. It's like...
Because you have a friend who's training, right? Yeah.
Yeah. She's, like, constantly buried in homework and doing all these, like, test flights, and, like, it's intense, it's not easy. There's so much math and physics involved, and you have to know an airplane backwards and forward, inside and out. But yeah, apparently Jerry thinks that because people like to make fun of John Travolta, that, like, he must be a doofus. I don't know.
Yeah, and okay, I know people like to pot Battlefield Earth and that, he dabbles in Scientology. But at the end of the day, John Travolta was also in, some of my favorite films, like Face Off. I didn't care what you say. Face Off was a great film. But Pulp Fiction, and Pulp Fiction alone is better than anything on Jerry Seinfeld's resume. So,
that is definitely true. Even Grease is better than
anything. Yeah, Grease, of course, yeah. So I will not have Jerry Seinfeld making pot shots at John Travolta.
Right. So then, they're emergency landing the plane, and then they call...
The plane then starts to... Because she can't keep control of the plane because it's only got one engine.
Yeah, so it's descending, and then the whole...
Which is also the metaphor for the film.
Yeah.
As well. Like, we're just going lower and lower.
Crashing. And then The whole colony of bees comes to the rescue, and they all fly under the plane and hold it up.
Oh
So
god. I think you saw the raw expression on my face when 5 minutes prior, when lightning hit the engine and then the plane was starting to nosedive, and I was thinking, oh god, you know what? Like if the bees end up carrying this plane, I'm done.
Yeah, you said that out loud. You're like, no, the bees are not going to come fly the plane. And I'm like, yes, they are. I knew it was coming. And then it happened. They all flew under it and like lifted it up together.
Yeah. But also, you don't have what... It would take millions of bees, if at...
No, that could never happen.
No, you know what?
It's not physically
I'm not going to
possible.
entertain... Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't even entertain the thought of how many bees it would take to suspend a, like... an A380 going from, like, LA to...
It is just not physically possible. It's not like the Monty Python skit about, like... Could an African swallow or a European swallow carry a coconut? It's not like that. It's just not happening. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, to throw in another flat joke, because you know how they eventually make it to, I guess, JFK. That's the airport in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, bees don't, they kind of slow down and hover a little bit, and there's a bit of like backwards and forwards shuffle before they actually...
They do like a little wiggle kind of.
Yeah, before they actually officially land. So they make a joke about that, where because, that's how bees fly, that's how the plane flies. So this plane's being jerked like backwards and forwards as it comes down the runway. And I don't know how the passengers are just so chill.
Yeah, that was the other thing. They were so casual. It's like they got struck by lightning. They have some florist who has no credentials and no business being in the cabin flying the plane. And then all of a sudden there's like millions of bees flying towards them and holding them up, and everybody's just like sipping their coffee, casually going through it. But anyways, then everyone's like, yay, Jerry, you brought us the flowers. And then he gets his official pollen jacket. And everything's better. They somehow, like, used those flowers.
It's like this pixie dust. They end up just flying around everywhere, and they just, like, sprinkle it on everything. And then everything spontaneously bursts back into life.
Yeah, so that's kind of the end. They decide, like, humans and bees need each other, which... We need them, but
I don't think
they don't need us.
No, they don't need us at all. Come on.
No,
yeah.
They will be just fine without us.
Yeah, they were fine for millions of years before we destroyed everything.
And then Jerry Seinfeld becomes a lawyer for animals.
Then the film ends with Jerry needing to go on a pollen run. The film concludes with Jerry with the pollen jocks flying through Central Park like the end of all the Spider-Man films with Tobey Maguire, and then that's it. And
it's only an hour and a half long, but it felt like an eternity in hell.
And then we both breathed a sigh of relief, and we were glad that we finally got through it.
Yeah, so that was it, guys. Don't recommend you to watch it unless you have like copious amounts of alcohol to get you through, and you just want to watch it for the lulz and the memes. Like, it depends on how much of a glutton for punishment
I think if you were to devise a drinking game, then it might be tolerable.
But it's almost that thing, like, you know how there's bad movies that are funny to watch?
Like The Room.
Yeah, like The Room.
Rocky Horror.
Yeah, like Rocky Horror Picture Show. This is so bad that it just doesn't have any redeeming qualities, and, like, you actually feel uncomfortable watching it.
It's... The issue with the B-movie is that it's devoid of jokes.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, the jokes are actually so lame and so, like, I'm Jerry Seinfeld. I've been doing the same stand-up routine for, like, 30 or 40 years, and, like, let me just try to rehash it as a cartoon bee this time.
Yeah, and...
It's like, what's the deal with elevators? You ever been in an elevator? It's so awkward. Like, he's just doing those same bits as a cartoon bee, and it's just not funny anymore. I mean, it never was that funny, was it?
His stand-up, no, it wasn't. It wasn't great. Like the comedy was a good add-on to Larry David's genius writing of actually making hilarious plots. We know who the funny one is now. Curb Your Enthusiasm, love that show.
Yeah, it's great. Great writing.
The B movie is sandwiched between the release of Shrek, the first, which was an excellent film. Mike Myers, very talented man, and also, they had Cameron Diaz, which was an excellent co-star in that film as well. Then
somebody once told me that Jerry is a phony. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Can that be the new theme song?
Lame jokes start coming and they don't stop coming
and they don't stop coming and they don't stop coming. And then you have Kung Fu Panda at the other end. But this isn't a film review. I can pot this film forever.
Yeah, so let's bury this, Willie. It's over. We never have to think about it again.
Yes, this is... There will be no rewatching of the B movie unless we actually think of a really good drinking game and there is sufficient people within our company which haven't seen it and are desperate to get drunk watching it.
I feel like it's like a disease and we don't need to spread it. So we watched it so you guys don't have to. We hope you enjoyed the podcast and... all the facts that they got wrong. So we'll be talking about something completely different next week. Thank the Lord.
Yes, and thank you for listening. And we'll be covering many things about bees, but not the bee movie ever again.
As I said last time, you can also be a steward of the bees by being kind to bees. I don't care. That's my sign off now. Just being a troll. As usual.
Cool.
Peace out, guys.
See ya.